Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Backlot 605 podcast. We are in the final week of DePalma December. I'm one of your hosts. I am Casey Kelderman. Joined with me, as always, are my co-hosts, Brian Mensing.
What's up?
And Sam, the hippie Lens.
What's up, man?
The hippie shake.
Sam looks like Steve Zahn from some movie in the 90s. I don't know which one.
I'll take it. I love 90s Steve Zahn.
As to say, it's Steve Zahn in the 90s. That's any movie that he was in the 90s.
Yeah.
Well, and there you hear the voice of our guest this week, Blake Ginithan from the SlashLot podcast and the Criterion Break.
Yeah,
Blake.
man. What's up?
What's up?
Not much. I'm back after a long hiatus.
He is back. What was the last movie you were on here to talk about?
I think it was Do the Right Thing.
That was like February.
Yeah. I was thinking about it. It was like I haven't been on in a long time, but I got to talk about two of my favorite movies and two of the best movies ever made. So I can't complain about that. They're okay.
Which two are those?
Brian, you're the only one that has not put up their Letterboxd star review yet. So
I'm so behind on that. So I apologize in advance.
Don't worry. I like Andy. I also guessed at all your reviews on this before you guys put them up, so I can go through that when we get to it.
Well, the movie we are talking about today is Brian DePalma's film starring John Travolta, Nancy Allen. No, it's not Carrie. It is Blowout from 1981. We're keeping in the same era of DePalma pretty much this entire series aside from Snake Eyes. Which is really interesting. But when we came up with this series, Blake, you obviously were one of the first people we asked, and it was not even a question of what DePalma movie. It was just, all right, Blake's doing Blowout. What's the other four movies that we're doing?
Yeah,
and it wasn't even a, hey, can I be on the show so we can talk to Palma? It was, no, I'm going to be on the show and I'm going to do this movie.
No, what it was Casey was saying, hey, I'm thinking of doing a DePalma month in December, and I said, I don't care like when you do Blowout, but I'm doing Blowout. So if it's next year, it's next year. If it's this year, it's this year. But I'm doing Blowout. So yeah.
My history, as we're gonna get into it first, because I know Brian and Brian and Sam, not Blake. This was a first time watch for both of you fellas. This is my second watch because my first time watch was at a DePalma movie night at Blake's house where we watched this and was it Body Double? Was the other one?
We watched Body Double right after. Yeah. A lot of beers that night.
What happened to all those double feature, that we were doing at Blake's house?
COVID.
Yeah. There's definitely a disease going around, and also it's just hard to do with two kids. So I do want to bring them back, though. I think I mentioned to Casey a few weeks ago. I was like, I kind of think I really want to start doing that again. So look out for that in the next few years. So.
I can finally go since I can actually not have to be up at 2:00 in the morning.
That's right. You came to one. I did. I think you came to Demolition Man and Black Dynamite, right?
Yeah, but I didn't get to finish Black Dynamite.
Oh man, you missed out, man.
Yeah, you definitely missed out. You didn't miss out if you would have skipped the first one, though. We're not talking Demolition Man. No Rob Schneider today. It is John Travolta instead. Blake, what about you? What's your history with this movie? Obviously, this is, even if you go to Blake's Letterboxd, I believe this is one of your four movies.
His very
your
first
favorites.
favorite.
Yeah. Well, so I alternate my top four. I mean, like maybe every 6 or 7 months or a year I do it, and it's funny. I completely forgot that I even had it on there until I watched Blowout this past weekend, and when I logged it, it was like they're both lined up, top to bottom, and I thought that was kind of funny because like I said, I forgot that I had Blowout in my favorites. But yeah, it's my history with the movie. I talked a little bit this on with this on Andy's show a long time ago. I used to post on this message board like probably 20 years ago. And I was really in like film discovery mode where it was just always people from all over the world talking about movies, suggesting movies. And it was like, I was a like casual DePalma fan based on the fact that I love his Mission Impossible. I love Snake Eyes, Scarface. The Untouchables is fine. Casualties of War. What's the one he did? Snake Eyes. I love Snake Eyes. That was a great episode, by the way. And it was sort of just like, oh, have you seen Blowout? And it was like, I've never even heard of it, and that was kind of when I started to discover like his sexual thrillers like Body Double and Dress to Kill. And, Blowout was kind of like the movie that a lot of, like film, like cinephiles recognized as his, or had like a consensus like, oh, this is his best movie, but no one talks about it because it's so hard to find. And I believe it had just come out on DVD, and so I ended up watching it. I thought it was really good, and just sort of like the more I watched it over the years, it's just sort of become kind of like my favorite DePalma, and just it's like I get little reminders of the movie from time to time in pop culture. I don't know if you guys know that in the movie Death Proof, the Quentin Tarantino movie, there's a part where I think it's Jungle Julia is checking her phone to see if her boyfriend has messaged her. They play the piano theme in this movie, in Blowout, during that. And it's one of those Tarantino things that he does where he brings back scores from other movies. But anyways, like I would get reminders of it throughout my life. And it's just sort of like I rediscovered it again in the past few years. And it's kind of like, oh, I want to share that love of this movie with people because I think they're really missing out. And thankfully, Criterion put it out, I mean, maybe in the last decade, or I don't know when they put it out, but they put it within the past 8 or 10 years. So
as Casey goes to his copy,
I was going to say, I'm going to go to, I think it was like 2010 when this came out.
Oh, wow. That's a long time ago.
2011. So
that's when the Blu-ray came out?
When the Blu-ray of Blowout came out.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. That's a long time ago. Yeah. And like Casey said, was it like, I think it was like 2 years ago I did it, maybe 3 years ago. I was doing these double features where I would just take like two movies, sometimes random, sometimes connected, and I would just like play all these movie trailers with them just to kind of like get you in the mood. And one time I just decided that, like I feel like people aren't talking about Brian DePalma enough, and especially since his career's kind of gone downhill in the past 15 or so years. And I just really wanted people to appreciate some of the stuff he's done. And so I kind of like programmed what I thought is his best movie, which is what I think is Blowout. And then I kind of wanted to get people a taste of, I wanted people to get a taste of like the filmmaker DePalma, where he's just doing all these like crazy long takes and split screens and split diopter shots and all this crazy stuff. And I also wanted to get like the stuff where he just really goes hard into sexuality and violence because of sexuality and all this masculine stuff. And so I chose Body Double as the second movie.
Yes, a movie that we hopefully will cover next year.
Yeah,
and then maybe
yeah.
A part two of DePalma December, because that movie is wild and
it's pretty crazy. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah. I would argue you could not make that movie nowadays. Like
no.
You could argue that the movie is racist in a way, and you could argue that the movie is violence against women is a little too much. But I mean, I give the guy credit for going all in on all of that. So, yeah.
Also, if you look at today's movie, Blowout, this movie doesn't get made today.
Yeah, I mean, because of technology, right?
Because of technology, yes. But unless you're Spielberg or Scorsese, this movie's not getting made.
Yeah, that's a good point. I thought about that watching it. It was kind of like, we don't get like adult thrillers like this anymore. This movie doesn't. This is like sort of like a $15 million movie that goes to Hulu or something, and it's just not as technically well made.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, we look at kind of brief history of Blowout, and something I looked into is John Travolta at this time, because last time we talked about him on the show, we were talking about him in Carrie. That's very early in Travolta's career, maybe his first film performance, or at least in the very, very early stages of his film career.
It's possible, yeah.
But
It
in
was
between,
just before Saturday Night Fever.
I was going to say, yeah, but right before this is Saturday Night Fever and Grease, two massive hits that turned Travolta into one of the biggest movie stars in the world at this time. And a reason that obviously a budget for Blowout can explode or blow up is that you have a massive movie star of the time, John Travolta, as your lead. Nancy Allen still on the rise after Carrie into the 80s, where she becomes kind of a notorious genre actress. And then DePalma, who's coming off of The Fury from a few years ago and Dressed to Kill right before this. So kind of strange that he's coming off three bombs, and I mean, I think Dressed to Kill was a slight hit. I mean, maybe of the era it came out, but look at what he was making at the time. He's making like Phantom of the Paradise, The Fury, Dressed to Kill. Like, these aren't huge movies of the time. It's not Star Wars. It's not Jaws, like his
compatriots.
Yeah, like Lucas and Spielberg. He's making these weird, smaller thrillers, and then this time coming around, he's making a pure Hitchcockian thriller with his own like political twist on it. Kind of like the first introduction to him dealing into like the political aspects, which Snake Eyes, we talked about in the first episode of this series, is like pure, like, I'm going to do a political thriller. Like, that's what that movie is. And then this is him, dipping his toes in it, over almost 2 decades prior to that.
Yeah,
I was about to say he needed to ramp up to Snake Eyes.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, like, you can see the through line between this movie and Snake Eyes really easily. I mean, it's, the femme fatale, it's the, I mean, just the noir vibe to it.
The two megastars from Face Off, both as the stars of his movie. Yeah.
I never even thought about that.
He knew what he had before. Well, no, Face Off would have happened by the time Snake Eyes came around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really feels like Snake Eyes is sort of him, just like he's like now fully in the Hollywood studio, the system, and he's just like, I'm gonna just go nuts with all of my tricks. That's kind of what I like about it. Like, I don't think Snake Eyes is like a great movie, but I just think it's technically well made and it's a lot of fun to watch. Like, it's like one thing that I kept thinking about when I was listening to that episode was like, that movie is kind of like Rashomon in a way, the old Akira Kurosawa movie, where like it's the same thing kind of told from different point of views, and you only get pieces of what's happening as you go along. And I thought that that's just, like, Snake Eyes is just a really, really fun movie.
I was going to say, this movie has a lot of that in it too, though, and I think
it's just not as fun. It's a little depressing.
Oh, it is definitely.
Oh, depressing. I think it's a lot of fun, but I think it is
a lot of fun.
It's super depressing. Yeah, the movie ends. I mean, every time the movie ends, I'm just like, oh my god. But we can get into that in a bit. But yeah.
I think we should get into the plot a little bit about this movie, because it is kind of one of the movies, especially this month, that we're covering, not a lot of people have known about. I mean, comparisons that we can draw towards are some movies that we've covered previously in the series from earlier this year, I believe. Both of these are from. The Conversation is one, and I think we brought up Blowout on that episode, which I think was a Patreon bonus. And then another Patreon bonus was Vertigo with Jimmy Stewart, Hitchcock movie. So I think there's through lines from both of those to this one. But I mean, the plot is John Travolta plays a movie sound recorder who is outside recording sounds on this bridge, including like an owl, a frog, the wind blowing, people talking just across the bridge. And then he records this car coming down the road, and the car tire has a blowout, and he records the entire accident of the blowout of the tire and the car crashing into the river there. And he goes ahead and saves the woman that's inside the car. Later, do we find out that the woman was hired by some unknown person to take part in trying to seduce. Is he a senator? Is that
Yeah,
right?
I thought he was a governor.
I thought
Yeah, he was a governor, and
Was
they
it governor?
were
Yeah.
governor, and they were talking about how he was going to be a major player in the politics game and all
yeah,
that.
basically like this is our future president kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, a big political candidate, a big political figure that is, intertwined into this story. And so Travolta and Nancy Allen, who plays this mistress, both embark on this journey to discover, was it actually a blowout? Was there a gunshot? Is there a conspiracy going on? And then you have also the great John Lithgow playing a black-gloved killer who is going around killing other ladies of the night that have a similar look and style as Nancy Allen.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I would just like to point out is I love anytime I get an opportunity to see John Lithgow be a bad guy.
Oh, you should watch Raising Cain then.
I have.
Okay.
That's what I'm.
Okay.
But I mean, like for instance, like even when he did his season of Dexter, I immediately was like, I was all in for watching him on Dexter, knowing that he was going to play a villain.
Mm-hmm.
To play opposite Washington in Ricochet. Just he does that very very stoned face.
Also,
very
Cliffhanger
well.
with Sylvester Stallone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and Cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Footloose with Kevin Bacon.
Oh yeah, that's the biggest villain right there.
He's the antagonist. I mean, he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's one big thing about this movie is the casting for it is just incredible all around. This is maybe my favorite Travolta performance. I think he's just dynamite in this movie.
You're a Grease fan too.
I do love Grease, but he's playing a much different character in this. Nancy Allen as well is really great. I think one of the most interesting things about her watching it this time around is I found her very annoying. But by the end
I'm not the only one.
But by the end, I'm like, yeah, that's just her character, and she needs to be annoying for the plot of the third act to work. Being this annoying character who just talks all the time, won't shut up.
See,
you need that in a movie that is all about sound and people talking and understanding where things come from just via sound and no visuals to help you along the way.
I will say I completely agree and understand like what you mean in regards to just the way Nancy Allen is in this here, but I tell you what, her voice, the inflection in her voice annoyed the living piss out of me throughout this entire film. I mean, clearly this is a film about sound and you can, and you have like everybody's voice, regardless of who it is, has a very distinctive voice about them. So I get it from that kind of aspect, but at the same time too, I'm like, can you just please let her talk normal, please, just for one line of dialogue.
I really like Nancy Allen in this movie.
I think she's great in this movie.
And I love the voice too. I think it kind of like creates this naivety to this person who's just way over her head, doesn't know how severe things can really get, and like ultimately pays the ultimate price. And I think there's I don't know, like I understand all the qualms. It works for me. Like like when she's sort of like talking with Travolta in that bar and she's explaining like her makeup thing and all, I could listen to her all day. I mean, I really liked it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say, I find her annoying, but it's definitely part of the character, what she is going for as an actress and what DePalma is going for as a director as well, of creating this. This is just her character. It's not an annoying thing in terms of audience.
Yeah.
It can be, but it's just in terms of character work. And, I think, again, that this is some of the best work of DePalma's character work. And we talked about it last week of how the Fury, even though we all agree, I think we all gave it a positive rating. is very lackluster on character, whereas this one is like, you need to invest in your two leads, otherwise this movie just doesn't work at all. Especially the ending, where if you're not invested in Travolta and Nancy Allen, the ending especially just does not work.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting that like DePalma, like, and I agree with your guest from last week. I think was it Tom? Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
I agree with him. Like DePalma's just not known for getting, like his character work has always just been second fiddle to his camera work, and I find it really ironic that like John Travolta's best performance is in a Brian De Palma movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it clearly wasn't Battlefield Earth.
And I'm not saying Travolta's like, has, 15 great performances in him. It's just ironic that, like this and maybe like Pulp Fiction are, probably his best performances. But
Hairspray.
yeah, I haven't seen it. I've heard he's fun in that. So
He's actually legitimately great in that movie.
yeah, I believe it.
It actually might be like my personal favorite Travolta performance.
Okay.
I'm aware it's not like maybe his technical best.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Oh God, I love him in that movie.
I think it's inspired casting. So
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I want to talk about the opening of this movie, because the opening to Blowout is incredible. Again, De Palma kind of just taking all the cliches of the time and kind of giving them a middle finger and embracing them at the same time. Of Travolta's character is the sound guy for a schlocky movie studio that just makes a bunch of slasher movies with a bunch of naked co-eds and a masked killer. And I mean, that first 5-10 minutes of Blowout is one of the best slasher openings of all time, even though it's a parody of the slasher movies of the time.
That scream was horrible. That scream was horrible. I enjoyed the fact that they knew exactly what they were doing, and like, okay, we're gonna have to make it the scream bad, and they definitely did that.
Yeah, I love that. You kind of like, if you don't know what you're getting yourself into, you're watching the movie and then the scream happens, and like you as an audience, you're kind of like, what? And then it kind of, you're like, you realize you're in a movie within a movie. I love that sort of like twist on what you're watching. What the cool thing about that is the guy who held the camera during that sequence is the guy who created the Steadicam. De Palma got the guy who created the Steadicam to do that shot. So I thought that was pretty cool as well.
Yeah. I think I read that in the Criterion essay you sent us.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
If on that disc that Casey owns, they interview him, but they talk about like what De Palma wanted and how he could do it and all that stuff. So it's I think it's like a 15-minute interview or something. But yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he had like an hour-long interview with Noah Baumbach on it too, and
yeah, that was one that I linked in our group chat the other day.
And that's on this Criterion too, and it's a great interview. Kind of interesting to look at two filmmakers from very different times and how they both have very similar ideals when it comes to filmmaking. And they talk a lot about the opening of this movie, and it's such an incredible opening that they use the Steadicam of, we're coming off, by the time they're shooting this, it's the height of Halloween's influence in Hollywood. 1980 is like the big boom of slashers, and when De Palma's filming this, that's when they're filming is then during the height of the slasher craze. And I don't know, it's such a great opening to this movie, because as an audience you don't know what you're getting into at this point, and when that scream happens, it's like, oh, all right, I understand what's going on here, and it's such a great payoff by the end of this movie. And it's so I don't know, it starts off with this black humor joke and ends with like, spoilers for Blowout, Travolta bawling, basically trying not to cry while crying, watching the movie, putting Nancy Allen's scream underneath it. And it's God, it's so good.
Yeah. It's incredible. So like I kind of want to get into like the genesis of Blowout and like why it's a movie and whatnot. Like, so DePalma like needed a hit, and spoilers, like this movie was not a hit at all. But he wanted to write his own property, and he was really into like conspiracy theories at the time. They had the whole Watergate thing. They had the JFK Zapruder film where like people's like trust in the government was really low, which is really funny because like right now it really is as well. But he was writing a movie, and essentially like, and that's kind of one of the reasons why that opening with the horror slasher thing is in there, is because he was kind of doing sound for a movie, and his sound guy complained that he just kept hearing the same like wind sound over and over again. And De Palma was like, "Well, then go out and record a new one, like go out and do it." And then he had the idea of like, what if a sound guy recorded a murder? And I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Blow Up from the mid '60s. But Blowout is essentially a remake of that, although it's not. Obviously, it kind of takes a lot of liberties with what it's doing. But Blow Up is basically this guy is in this park. He's a photographer. He's just taking photographs, and then he sees a couple in the woods, and he takes pictures of them, and then he goes back to his processing plant or his apartment where he has a processing room, and he starts to. There's Blowout has a similar sequence where, like Travolta's putting pictures together and all that, but he knows he saw a murder. And in Blow Up, the photographer has no idea until he's looking at his pictures and he realizes he recorded a murder while taking pictures. And so that's the big difference between them. And so De Palma was inspired by that and by all these conspiracy theories and like just a general lack of distrust in the government, and that's kind of like where Blow Up is generated from. And I kind of find that whole thing fascinating with how he, and what I love is sort of like where like after Travolta records the car accident and everything, it sort of becomes like this guy putting this puzzle together. And I love the whole sequence where he goes and gets the magazine where like the pictures that Dennis Franz, who like you guys are starting to discover now that Dennis Franz is in a bunch of De Palma movies. I think he's in a few more as well. And he gets that.
Like you like the guy.
Yeah, I think he might be in Dressed to Kill as well. You have to look that up. But he gets that magazine. He puts the photos together and then he syncs it with the sound. I think all of that is just incredible. And I sort of love that like Blowout as a movie is sort of almost about making movies itself, kind of like recording sounds, taking images, putting them together, and sort of like creating this little movie. And I love that whole sequence. It's sort of like this like tip of the hat to like, yeah, we make movies. This is kind of how hard it is to do, while also giving you this whole big political thriller and conspiracy theory nut stuff. I think I just love it all. So
yeah.
I was going to say this. Looking at this movie now, 40 years removed from its release, and looking at like how film was made at the time,
yeah,
through the eyes of Travolta's character in this movie is fascinating. Of how you sync up your images with your audio and how you have to align everything via film, like actual film is so fascinating, because today in terms of any editing, you're not using film, you're recording everything digitally, and it's a very different way of aligning all this stuff. And the scene of Travolta literally meticulously going through his sounds and then trying to line it up with the pictures from the magazine is, I don't know, one of the best scenes of this movie. So it's such a fascinating look of this could be really boring too, but just the way De Palma shoots it as well. Of one of the most fascinating things I took away from his interview with Baumbach is him basically shitting on modern filmmaking in a way of, I don't do close-ups. The camera isn't set up for, we're shooting over one character's shoulder and then we're shooting over another one. No, I'm following my actors with the the camera. The actors are the ones telling the story. My camera just follows them through their movements, and it's not, this cliche way of shooting movies. Looking at you, Netflix, go watch that documentary with Baumbach. I mean, Baumbach works with you guys, so take some pages from that book. But I think that's one of the most fascinating things about this movie is that it's just never boring.
Yeah.
And this is such, in a way, this should be such a boring concept for a movie of, okay, we're going to watch a sound guy recording sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Why would we watch that? That's boring. Like, why do we want to watch a guy hold a stick in the air while he records wind?
Yeah.
Or records a frog croaking.
Yeah,
But just the way DePalma shoots all of that is just incredible.
And like the way he sets up that whole recording sequence, you know, like there's like a thing. I'm gonna be really bad at describing it, but like there's a certain shot sequence where like he's like really tight on Travolta, and then he just keeps like pulling out, kind of like giving you like this lay of the land of like where everything is in this like park. I love all that. Like there's one thing you can call DePalma, like he might make bad movies, but like the dude's never boring. Like the dude is always moving the camera, doing like split screen stuff. I love when he does split screen stuff. Like he does a bunch of split diopter stuff in here. There's like the stuff where like the opening sequence where they show the stuff on the TV, and then like on the other half of the TV is him like putting tapes and stuff together. I love stuff like that. Another example is when John Lithgow's hunting women, and there's like the escalator going up, and on the other side is like him looking at a woman on a picture. And like, I just love stuff like that, you know? And I mean, people can talk shit about DePalma and like how he treats characters like chess pieces all they want. I don't care. I love what he is just fully into, like DePalma, moving the camera, split screen. Like, when you guys get Dressed to Kill, you'll find out that he does these long tracking shots that go on for like 5 or 10 minutes with no talking, and it's just music playing. He's the master for me. I love his movies, and Blowout for me is like the perfect mixture of DePalma, like the filmmaker, like is it the puppet master, like the marionette guy, like that, and also like getting like great characters in. Otherwise, you know, like you kind of get one or the other with his other movies. So yeah, I think this is just the best example of that.
I want to talk about the shot of when Travolta is first recording the sounds, because you brought it up, like it starts close on him and keeps moving further and further.
Yeah.
In my mind, like when I saw it this time, I was like, that to me feels like the reverse James Whale reveal of the monster in Frankenstein. Of we start wide, move in closer, and then move in on his face, and it's just these jump cuts.
Yeah.
It's not, necessarily the camera pulling out, and then it's jump cuts of a sequence, and it doesn't. It feels very off center and off-putting in a way, which is obviously what Whale was going for in Frankenstein. But in this, it's like just boom, boom, boom. We're just moving out on the same, basically the same frame of Travolta recording sound, and I don't know. That's what it reminded me of this time. And I don't know if that's any influence to DePalma at all.
Who knows? Yeah, who knows?
I don't know. That's the vibe I was getting from
It's very possible. I mean, his obvious, like inspiration. He loves Hitchcock. He loves Roman Polanski. So he kind of takes those qualities and revamps them for his era and stuff. I mean, it just feels like he just has such a command for filmmaking. Like I love the part where like they show the microphone going like moving, and the camera kind of like slowly follows it and zooms in, and then like when Travolta sort of like replaying in his head, he has the pencil in his hand and it does the same movement. I love stuff like that. And then I don't know what kind of shot it is, but like when he's like listening back and he hears the blowout, and like behind Travolta is like the car moving and the gunshot goes. I just love just stuff like visual stuff like that. I love stuff. I love it.
That for me, the shot you're talking about, where it's Travolta, what it's the car, and then is it the gunshot?
You see the smoke come out of the
That to me like harkens back to or sets the precedent for the final big shot to this movie of the circling of Travolta and Nancy Allen with the fireworks. Like has a very similar looking setup to the shot. And obviously very different things, kind of the start of his journey all the way to the end of it for Travolta's character. And I don't know, it's so interesting how he bookends certain things in this movie.
And there's kind of a lot of that in this movie, just we can probably just progress through the movie, but like, what's the one? Oh, so I don't want to get to it quite yet, but like that the bookend stuff happens also with like Travolta telling Nancy Allen that story about how he bugged the cop, and then the cop ended up getting murdered, and that also kind of like I just sort of love how Travolta like is obviously haunted by that thing that happened to him, and yet he still puts Nancy Allen in that situation where essentially like he could get her killed, you know, and he does, you know, and I sort of love that, but you know, like, you know, John Lithgow is going around. We got to talk about John Lithgow. John Lithgow is sort of like this. He's like this. He kind of reminds me of the Anton Chigurh character from No Country for Old Men, where like no one can stop this guy. Like he is just he is so smart. He's so ahead of the game. You know, like at certain points, he erases tapes that Travolta has. He is able to like rig the phone system so where, you know, like Travolta can't get phone calls, and he's pretending to be somebody else. He figures out that he needs to kill women that look like Nancy Allen. So eventually, when he kills her, it looks like it's just like a string of serial murders. I sort of love that whole thing, and he's just like this menacing force that is almost unstoppable. And how that plays in with like the idea, like how we're given that information the entire movie through, and as we watch John Travolta like slowly like lose this fight, is I think it's really fascinating to watch how like those two chess pieces go against each other.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is like John Lithgow, he's cold and calculating, but you also kind of just get the feeling that he enjoys being a sick, twisted bastard too.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't seem that far off for him to, like, you know, there's like the sexual element to the killings of the girls that he's doing. Like, he doesn't have to add that.
Yeah.
He's doing that because, like, he might be cold and calculating, but there's also just something very deeply screwed up about this guy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that. There's just this slight unhinged quality to him that's just...
Yeah.
One of the big scenes that shows that is, well, I guess both of them are inside phone booths. The first time when he's talking on the phone and like his voice inflection is that he's crying, but when we see him as the audience, he's just stone-faced, zero emotion coming through.
Yeah.
And that's, imagine trying to do that as an actor. That's so impossible. That seems impossible.
I thought the same thing. I was watching it, I'm kind of like, how is he not crying right now? Yet he's able to get that. I thought that was such an incredible acting job. Yeah.
And then another one is later in another phone booth inside the is it like the trains or subway station?
Yeah. It's both. Yeah.
That he's calls over this woman of the night and shows off a $20 bill, and as soon as she like says like give me a minute, his face again just boom, stone cold, stone faced after kind of playing the 80s Lithgow in a way of during that scene of kind of like an American dad in that way.
Yeah.
But then just boom, just an instant change of character for him.
And I never saw anything that DePalma said about it, but I kind of think that like Giallos were kind of an influence on this movie as well. Like obviously you brought it up earlier, like, you know, there's black gloves and sort of like, you know, a guy stalking, you know, women, you know, and then, you know, he doesn't have a knife per se, but he has like that thing he pulls out of his watch that he strangles women with. And then I obviously some of the scenes are bathed in like neon light, which we can get. There's something I want to bring up about that too that I read. But you got to think that like in some way, DePalma maybe saw a couple of giallos and kind of like built that into this whole thing as well.
I was going to bring that up on here because in a year of people saying, "Oh, this is a giallo influence," it's like, no, Blowout is a giallo influence. Sorry, Last Night in Soho for your one giallo scene and your neon lighting. No, Blowout is pulling out literally all the tropes of a giallo within this conspiracy thriller.
Yeah.
Like he's pulling. This is like a Hitchcock Argento combination.
Yeah,
with
it's just
De Palma's style intertwined in it.
And the one thing he does do different is he holds back on the violence quite a bit in this. Casey will attest to Body Double isn't quite an incredibly violent movie, but this, that's the one thing he does different. But I gotta believe that that he is influenced by that. Yeah.
And if I'll look this up as we're talking here. His composer for this movie and I believe Carrie as well was Italian.
Pino Donaggio.
Yeah. So
yeah,
could be some cross influence between the
it's possible
the two as well.
Possible.
I don't know what else he scored.
Yeah.
But
I feel like he's done other stuff for De Palma as well, and then De Palma used Ennio Morricone for The Untouchables. So another Italian there as well.
Yeah.
I was going to say, there's just, I don't know, so many influences that he pulls into this movie, and it's all used to a great extent, while also including De Palma's own unique style. And I think that's one of the big things when you talk about any De Palma movie is the style of it. And for me, this is like the best version of the De Palma style in terms of it working for the movie as a whole. That of the ones I've seen,
Okay.
Because like we said earlier, there's actual characters in this movie, which is great, and I think
I feel like if you want De Palma distilled, Snake Eyes might be like the best example of just him like saying "fuck this," I am going all out. Also, Femme Fatale is another one where he just like does not care. But anyways, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, Snake Eyes is pure style. And
it's cocaine.
Cage sleaze, which is incredible.
Snake Eyes is one of those very much style over substance movies.
Yes,
whereas this one, like, I guess like maybe substance isn't the right word for this movie, but it has more of an emotional. Like more emotional stakes, I would say.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
I can accept that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I really feel for both these characters that are, essentially fighting like this big machine, and we all know that the machine wins every time.
Yeah.
Terminator taught us that.
From the get-go, you kind of feel like there's not going to be a happy ending for anyone in this.
Boy, I don't feel that when I watch it.
Oh really? Maybe it's just the state of the world right now, but the whole time I was watching it, I just had this existential dread going.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, this is just not going to end well for him, you know?
Yeah.
That's why I want to bring up a scene we previously talked about. Before I get to it, Brian, your mic isn't coming through. We're not ignoring you. I can see you trying to talk.
Oh, sorry, Brian.
There it is.
Oh,
I didn't know.
Jeez, I didn't even notice.
You jerks are just ignoring
No,
me.
I didn't even see your mouth moving. I apologize.
There's a scene, Blake, you talked about earlier where we kind of get the flashback to Travolta's kind of origin story of where he's at in his career now, of him working with the police and bugging the cop.
Yeah.
For me, where we talk about bookends of this movie, that feels like, oh shit, he did that, a couple years ago, early in his career. Here's his redemption by the end of it with Nancy Allen of he's going to bug her. And as we're chasing through the streets of Philadelphia, that's how he's going to find her and save the day of something that killed someone else is now going to save someone else's life. And Palm was like, nah, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Clearly that's not a good way to go. That's not a good way to end the movie.
Oh.
And the studio hated this ending of the movie.
Sure they did.
Well, the ending is great. I did start like, okay, as soon as John Lithgow was chasing her and he lost, I'm like, why have we been talking about the scream for this entire time? Because like throughout the movie, you get little bits and pieces, and all of a sudden it just kind of hit me in that final chase. I'm like, no. And the whole time I'm just like, shit, I figured it out, and now I'm just waiting for the hammer to drop. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Gosh.
The last like 10 minutes of this movie are devastating. in like the best way.
Yeah.
In the best way.
Watching it this time, I think like the whole car into the parade sequence is like, I think that could just like not be there.
I was okay.
It kind of feels a little,
explain to me.
out of place.
Yeah, I remember getting to that part of the movie. I'm like, this makes absolutely no sense.
so
Because he got Travolta in the movie and he got a bunch more money for the budget, and
So-
can include it.
this, you know, like,
Because none of the police officers he damn near almost runs over wouldn't get in the car and chase after him.
oh, that's not true. Some of them did chase after him, but
On
most of them,
foot.
yeah, on foot. But I think like, look, like I'm trying to like figure out what that whole sequence is about, because it's just kind of like, oh, he crashes, and then the next thing you know, he's in a ambulance, and then he gets out and runs after. So I don't know what the whole thing was, but like, the movie is set in Philadelphia. There's a couple of things about that. One, I believe it's Brian DePalma's hometown, and he wanted to make a movie there. Two, Philadelphia is the birthplace of the United States, and if you notice, there's tons of like visual stuff about American flags. Lots of stuff about there's a lot of like murals of like Ben Franklin and the founding fathers, like sometimes placed up high, almost like looking down. And I like, part of me wonders if like if Travolta driving through the parade was like this like visual thing about how like he was trying to like say, you know, like drive through and try to like destroy like this America where the governmental machine can just ruin anybody and sort of like get away with it, which is also what happens at the end of the movie. And so otherwise, I don't know what that was all about. But yeah, that's kind of like maybe the like one thing I don't like about this movie. It doesn't ruin the movie for me, obviously, but and that whole thing that I just said kind of ties into what I wanted to bring about the Giallo lighting earlier. Was that if you notice, like a lot of the Giallo lighting is like red, white, and blue, and I really love that. Like a lot of things are bathed in the American flag colors, and I like this is like Brian DePalma is clearly at a point in his life when he made this. I think he was like in his like late 30s, early 40s. That like he was just sort of like tired of, like Richard Nixon had gotten away with the stuff he did with Watergate, and like President Kennedy was assassinated. Nothing happened to him, or nothing happened to like the people who supposedly did it. And then Robert Kennedy was murdered, and that was taken care of. But basically, he was kind of sick of what was happening and people getting away with stuff, and that was sort of like this is sort of the answer to all of that. Is this movie about this little guy who he's fighting this huge thing that he has no chance against.
He's way out in this movie.
I sort of just love the like I said, the American motif, the Giallo lighting, the American flags, the pictures of the founding fathers, the fact that it takes place in Philadelphia, the birthplace of the United States. I love how this is in a way Brian DePalma just sort of saying like, this is what's been created in out of this city, and it's maybe a cynical take. I kind of think America's a great country, but I understand that like it's not perfect, and that there's a lot of people, a lot of higher up people who just they take advantage of that. And I think this is DePalma just sort of being like, I'm really sick of this, and he's maybe about 40 years early on that thinking, but here we are now with our current state, and this movie sort of like reflecting that in a way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even more subtext into that. Our main character is a filmmaker who is attached to Nancy Allen, DePalma's wife of the time.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
There's multiple levels of subtext throughout this movie.
Yeah.
The ending of this movie, I agree. The Liberty, what is it, like Liberty Day or?
Yeah.
The Liberty Day parade.
Parade is kind of the most unnecessary part of this, and for me, it looks incredible. I mean, it clearly shows DePalma had some money to make this movie, but I think in terms of suspense, the most suspenseful part is when Travolta's on his feet chasing after Lithgow.
Oh my God!
And Nancy Allen on their feet and only hearing clues. That's the only way he can get understand where they are in terms of the city of Philadelphia, including like hearing the subway and immediately running towards the subway. And by the end of it, hearing the bell ring and know that that's where she's at, on top of this roof right next to the bell. The ending of this movie is just incredible. Again, the lighting of it is beautiful, but when you get to the meat and potatoes of what happened with him finally overcoming Lithgow, he triumphs at the end, defeats the big bad, but is too late. Nancy Allen is just lying there, and I don't know, you have such a tremendous shot to kind of close the movie of him just holding her in his arms and fireworks again going off,
and the piano theme, oh my god,
so great.
So good.
Again, playing in that the American motif of this movie of how do we celebrate
this country,
our freedom, our independence. We shoot off fireworks and blow shit up. Here's this happening here on this, during this tragic moment of, again, Travolta's character basically costing someone their life because he pulled them into a conspiracy that he couldn't control in the end. And I don't know, the final shot of this movie of Travolta just sitting there in the editing room and just saying, that's a good scream. Like, just his face, he's like profusely like sweating or crying, like just looks emotionally drained. A little bit of, I lost someone, and this is the scream I'm using that's going to be immortalized on in film forever now. In
some B-roll that somebody's never going to watch anyway.
Well,
that's making the movie.
The thing
I was going to say, I would
like,
watch all those cheesy slashers that they were making.
Oh yeah, 100%. The opening of this movie is a movie I would watch the rest of in a heartbeat. No, I read about this, that Travolta was actually suffering like insomnia during filming, and that's why he looks. I mean, because he looks like hell in certain scenes in this movie. Like there are sequences where I'm just like, at first, like, that's kind of why I looked it up, because I was like, God, is he like on coke right now? Because his face is pasty, but like his eyes are all bleary and red, and I was just like, what's going on? Like, he just doesn't look great. And apparently he was insomnia. He was an insomniac, and DePalma was like, use it, and
of course.
So,
one thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sam.
And then just my favorite part about this movie is how the ending comes, and there's no satisfying answer. Like, you never actually figure out who was the one who hired John Lithgow, who all the conspirators are. You get no closure. John Travolta's character gets no closure. There's just, life goes on. Who cares? And that's such a terrifying thing that still, to this day, like, especially in this day and age, feels very much like, oh God, this movie came out, 40 years too early, because every feeling I have watching this movie, I'm like, God, this relates to our situation today so much.
Also,
so
as Travolta was kind of really deep diving into this and going to the police with his evidence, the cops are like, who gives a shit anymore? Like, this is old news.
Right.
Like, what are you trying to prove? No one's going to care, even if you do prove something, because it doesn't. This is old news by the time this comes out. We settled everything. We need to figure out, who cares what this Joe Schmo sound engineer says, and what this prostitute says. Like, who cares at this point? And that's such again kind of 40 years, too soon of. News passes at a mile a minute. If you don't get it right away, life moves on, the world will move on, and no matter how much you get hung up on it, it doesn't matter in the end.
I wanted
we don't even talk about Army Hammer eating people anymore, so I don't know what's going on.
More people should talk about Army Hammer eating people.
Well, that'll flare up.
Yes.
Allegedly.
That'll flare up when the movie drops.
Let's wait for the the proof to come out before that we did say something about that. I before I forget, I wanted to bring up how well DePalma gets across paranoia. There's a few sequences. One is when Travolta's like putting his tapes up in the ceiling, like the shots from the outside of the window, kind of like zooming in, almost like someone's like has binoculars watching him. And then of course there's just the absolutely incredible shots in the middle of the movie where he's looking for the tapes and the camera just panning in a circle while he's going crazy in that room. I think that's just one of the best. I mean, it's probably the best scene in the entire movie. Just that like feeling, and I have surround sound, and like as the camera's panning, like things around you are just like falling, or he's running through doors or whatever, and it's so well done. And then there's a couple shots where Nancy Allen and Travolta are like in an apartment, and the camera's just like looking down on them, and it feels like someone's just like watching them. And I love all of that that detail that he puts into the movie.
I would like to point out when you're talking about the it going around in a circle and whatnot, if the sound did not go along with it and the sound design does not work in that context of that of a movie about
Is that a fail?
That would be an absolute fail. Like if you're watching, if it would be going around, you'd be like, this is being very consistent. I'd be like, you are fired.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sound design in this movie is incredible. I mean,
and see, and that's what I mean too. I mean,
right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, in the context of the movie and whatnot, you're talking about a guy whose job is to be in sound design.
Mm-hmm.
You better be top notch on making sure that at least if there's one character that is developed and put through the entire thing from beginning to end, it's your sound design.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to get into our final thoughts, and I'll jump into it because I think that's one thing about this movie is the sound is perfect, and I think this movie is damn near perfect in my mind. I think this is just an all-time classic banger. My favorite Travolta performance, Grease not included.
Can I read my predictions for your ratings?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the exact same thing Andy did, so this is all in fun. Don't be offended or anything by this stuff. Okay, so I did Derek. Derek is a very straightforward person. He would say Blowout is a banger. That's it. Mm-hmm. Brian, you said I have never seen this before, but I thought it was great. However, it needed more Honda Civics in outer space. Sam, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen. I bought the Japanese VHS for $45 off eBay. I watched it.
It's right behind him.
I've watched it 5 times.
It's literally right behind me.
Including twice while doing the dishes. Casey would say, I own the Criterion Blu-ray, so obviously I love it. And Andy would say, DePalma's direction keeps this otherwise regular rift on conspiracy theory thrillers ticking. Travolta is the standout. 3 tacos and a half a bowl of sour cream and 1 bowl of pico de gallo. What a delightful movie.
You thought about this.
I did. I thought about this because I knew I have to get Andy back for the shit he pulled on me. So I put some effort into that part.
Yeah, no, I do. I dig this movie a lot. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's
I mean, you have the Japanese VHS tape of it right behind you.
Yeah. I would stand up and actually show a close-up of the VHS, but I'm going to be level with you guys and say I didn't put on pants for this. So,
goddamn.
But yeah, no, I really dig this movie. My only qualm is that at an hour and 48, like I started to feel the runtime, and I think part of that is just the car sequence through the Liberty Day parade, kind of like. It lost me there for a second, and then once he's back on foot chasing and I'm piecing together what's about to happen, it picks back. It was just like that brief time towards the end where I was kind of like, wait, what? Oh my God, what? Why are we doing this? And other than that, this was pretty much a perfect thriller. Like, from the get-go, the characters are endearing. I don't find Nancy Allen annoying in this. I think she's naive, yes. Annoying, I don't know. She didn't get on my nerves anyways. And I just think it was a little weird for me to see her play someone like this when really the only other Nancy Allen, well, the movie I think of at least with Nancy Allen is Carrie, where she's complete opposite end of the spectrum of this. So that was a little like, just when she started talking at first, I was like, wait, what? Is that actually Nancy Allen? I thought it was just someone who looked like her. And yeah, I don't know. That's my rambling thoughts too. I really dug Blowout. Yeah. I saw that it was going to leave Tubi in 5 days, and I'm a little sad about it. I might have to pick up that Criterion Blue at some point. But yeah, I dig it.
You dig it?
I dig it.
For me, I'd say I agree in terms of the runtime and that the parade scene feeling completely out of place and whatnot. For me, it just seemed it seemed like it could have been probably brought in a little bit. Personally, I don't know. I wouldn't say necessarily Nancy Allen was annoying. It was her voice that was annoying. Like, but
Sure.
in terms of the fact that we're talking about something about audio, and like I said, is that every single person has a very distinctive voice, and if you're talking about something that's dealing with the element of sound, it would make sense that you need to do something that's going to, you know, make sure that you know who you're listening to if you had your eyes closed while you're watching this movie. So I get that part of it. There's something about, maybe just because the first thing I think of Nancy Allen is RoboCop. And, you know, she's a lot more, you know, she's not this.
Yeah.
You know, so
God, I forgot she was in RoboCop. Yeah.
I kind of did too, actually.
see, and that's what I immediately think of her as, you know, and the way you guys kept going and never even bringing it up, I was like, am I even wrong that she's in RoboCop?
Nope, you're right. She's great in it.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the great things about her. I don't ever think of Nancy Allen, the actress from RoboCop, as the same Nancy Allen from Blowout, as the same Nancy Allen from Carrie, because I don't associate those three characters with each other in the slightest.
Which I would agree. I would definitely agree with that. I definitely think everybody, for what they are given character-wise, I think, for me, I still stand by the fact that I love John Lithgow as a villain. I think he's great at it. This is early Travolta, so for me, I can take or leave and whatnot. But Travolta is also not one who's like, I need to go see a Travolta movie today either, though, too. So
yeah. Speed Kills is not exactly on my watch list, so
right. So I mean,
I don't care. I love him from
Hairspray,
Paris with Love or whatever.
Oh, okay. He's fun in that.
That one that he did with like John Rhys Meyers. I think that's like, I don't like the movie, but I think his performance is unhinged in that, and I love it.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
This was fine?
This was fine.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's go through all four of us here. I want to hear star ratings too for this. So give us a star rating and your dream blow up and blank double feature.
How about a blowout double feature?
I spoiled maybe someone's double feature. Yeah, blowout and blank double feature. Sam, go first.
I gave this 4 stars, but I think it could go up on rewatches just because, yeah, as we talked about it, I'm like, oh, I love this movie. Like, I don't really have negative things to say about it. So yeah, it'll probably go up. I'll probably change it like 2 days from now. God, for a double feature, for a while I was like, gosh, The Nice Guys takes a lot of pages from this book. Like, I feel like narratively and just some of the things that Shane Black's doing in that movie, kind of takes from that. But then I was like, nah, I'm gonna go with like a modern thriller that kind of reminds me of this vibe that I think is a little underrated. I don't know how this is gonna go over with y'all, but I love Kim Basinger, Jason Statham, Chris Evans thriller Cellular, and I don't think it's quality-wise on the same level as Blowout, but I dig that movie. It deals with like a phone call. You're hearing certain things over like the receiving end of a phone.
And there he goes.
He didn't even believe in his own double feature.
Since Sam has left us, unfortunately, I just want to echo that I love Cellular, and I think it's a great movie and a worthy double feature of this.
I don't think I've seen that movie in like 15 years.
I saw Blake's face, and I figure he was the one that kicked me off of this call. No, yeah, so that's my double feature is Cellular. I have no idea how you guys feel about that movie, but I dig it a lot.
I haven't seen it in a long time. I remember enjoying the movie, but I can say I
Yeah.
probably haven't seen it in 15 years.
I was going to say I've never even heard of Cellular.
Sam, you missed me
What?
gushing about Cellular while you were gone. Because I
Oh,
love
really?
Cellular.
For real?
Yeah, I do. I love it. It's
thank
great.
God.
It's great.
I didn't
Yeah.
know what that look on your
Yeah.
face was about, so I was
I
that's happy. Oh, man.
I really that's a fun movie.
Blake just said he's going to
Yeah.
put it in his letterbox top 4 after we end the show.
Yeah.
So.
Really?
Along
Oh
with-
my
al-
God, yeah, okay.
Along with Phone Booth.
Yes.
Your top
Oh my
4
God.
movies are just phone booth type movies.
Jason Statham and Colin Farrell movies, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure you get in Bruges in there then.
Oof, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
in Bruges. So good.
Blake, you want to
Yeah.
go next?
Yeah, I mean, I would get this is a 5-star movie for me. I don't care if like the parade sequence doesn't really work for me. I just think everything else is so good, and I don't know. Doesn't hurt the movie enough for me to dock at anything. I think it's DePalma's best movie. I think it's John Travolta's best performance. I really like John Travolta. I don't know if he's a bad actor or if like he just needs the right director to work with. I don't follow a lot of people on social media, like a lot of celebrities, and like I follow John Travolta for some reason. He just seems like the most likable guy in the world. He just like always posting videos and pictures of his kids and stuff. So I can't help but root for the guy.
That's just the stuff that the Scientologists vetted out for him.
Well, they're doing a good job because I'm sold. So yeah, 5-star movie for me. I'm not gonna lie, I have a bunch of movies for double features. Blow Up is an obvious one, just because it is kind of like a loose remake of it. One that you guys brought up earlier, The Conversation, is also like The Conversation is also kind of inspired by Blow Up, as well. And then for modern movies, there's a great what's his name? David. Oh God, I can't think of his name. But it's a movie called Spartan with Val Kilmer, where he plays a Secret Service agent who has to go and the president's daughter or something is kidnapped by terrorists, and he has to go and get her back. And it's this whole like, once he gets past one thing, like the conspiracy just gets deeper and deeper and deeper, and like higher up officials are just working against him to find this girl. I think it's a great movie. For you horror guys, there's a movie called Barbarian Sound Studio that is about a sound guy for movies, and he is doing sound for an Italian horror movie in the 70s. And the entire movie, every minute of it takes place in the sound studio while he's doing sound for this movie. This guy slowly loses his mind. And then the final movie came out a few years ago. It's a Joaquin Phoenix movie. It's called You Were Never Really Here, and it's about.
I want to see that.
It's about this guy who used to be like a special forces Army Ranger guy, and he now is hired to just find young kids who go missing. And the latest case that he has to like the latest person that he has to find is like this 12-year-old girl who is being sex trafficked by politicians and like rich people in New York City. And it's one of kind of like Spartan. It's sort of like the deeper he goes, the bigger the conspiracy gets. So that's a great movie. That's on Amazon Prime if you want to watch that. Sam.
Is that Lynn Ramsey?
Yep.
too?
Yeah, it's Lynn Ramsey's
Yeah,
last movie.
and
Yeah,
she's great. I haven't
she's
gotten
great.
to that one yet, but
she's
I
a great
want to.
director. It's a phenomenal movie. So those 3 movies, Spartan, Barbarian Sound Studio, and You Were Never Really Here, I think would all just be like really great double features with Blowout.
Nice.
I will go next. I give this movie 4.5 stars. I think this is it's right in between 4.5 and 5 for me. I love this movie. This movie's incredible. Like Blake, this is my favorite Travolta. Nancy Allen is great. Such a great mixture of, like I said, you have this Italian giallo influence with Hitchcock mixed with DePalma's political thriller, all mixed into one, and one of the most visually appealing movies about something that probably shouldn't be visually appealing in sound. Such a hard task to pull off, and he does it masterfully in this movie. And I'm going to pair it with a different one that just came to mind just as Blake was talking, because I was leaning towards like The Conversation is kind of the big one you could throw in there, or a Hitchcock movie. I'm going to go with a modern movie too that shows another man's kind of descent into madness via news. I'm gonna go with Nightcrawler. An unhinged Jake Gyllenhaal performance in this movie, an ending that is not satisfying, just like this movie's ending is not very satisfying.
Oh, you mean like on a enjoyable level, like
in a send the people home happy level.
Okay. I was like, I really love the ending to Nightcrawler.
Oh, I was going to say, Blowout Nightcrawler have incredible endings for us movie nerds that love to leave the cinema depressed. For casual movie audiences who want to see Captain America beat the shit out of some aliens, no, Nightcrawler and Blowout do not have those type of endings.
This is not my Mysterio.
I like my movies to feel like someone just yanked my intestines right through my bowel.
Yes.
Like,
I
those
think
are the
there's a movie
best
for that.
endings.
I think that's called Mortal Kombat.
I was gonna say I think it's Resident Evil, or not Resident Evil, but what's that space movie? Event Horizon. There's your movie for intestines going through bowels.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with Nightcrawler, and I don't know, for some reason Gyllenhaal and
you
Travolta,
love that movie so much.
I love Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler is one of my favorite.
Nightcrawler's
movies in 10 years.
incredible.
No, I'm not saying it's not. Casey loves it.
That was my movie. Like 2014 is my getting into movies year, and Nightcrawler was
that
movie.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
And wasn't Birdman out in 2014 too?
That was 2015.
Yeah, I think that was
Okay.
I think so.
No, it was 2014.
No, it might be 2014.
Was Spotlight.
Look it up.
2015 was Spotlight that won Best Picture. Birdman's 2014.
Birdman is
2014. Yep, 2014 was all Birdman and Nightcrawler for me. That was the year that I was like all in on that stuff.
And for me, like Gyllenhaal kind of reminds me in a way of kind of a modern Travolta. Like not everything he does is great. But he's always swinging for the fences no matter what it is.
He is always swinging for the fences.
Not to extend this show, but has he ever been bad?
No.
The follow-up to Nightcrawler with him and Dan Gilroy is not good.
He's good in it,
Velvet Buzzsaw.
Velvet Buzzsaw?
I don't know what movie he's in.
But he's good in it.
Have you guys seen Okja, the Bong Joon-ho movie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Again, he is not in the same movie as anyone in that.
I disagree, but that's a different show.
He's in an anime.
Gyllenhaal performance is Mr. Music on John Mulaney's Sack Lunch Bunch.
Bubble Boy is a close second.
He steals that whole special.
I feel really bad about extending this Jake Gyllenhaal talk, but
wait for Jakey G month.
I want to hear Brian's recommendation.
Well, unfortunately, you stole mine in terms of double feature because I
was it Birdman?
No. One of these days, I'll get around to actually watching Birdman.
Oh, it's really good.
Oh, maybe next year.
Brian,
I've heard nothing but good things from it. No, I was going to go with The Conversation just for the sake of the style of movie that we've been talking about. Mm-hmm. For me, I mean, like I said before, I mean, for me, in terms of what DePalma's doing with the style of his movie, everything like that, it's good. You can clearly tell it's his movie. I don't think that the performances aren't the performances are great for what we are basically given. It's just that there's something about it that just doesn't. I don't know. It's fine.
Casey, kick Brian out of this chat.
I'll just get right back on in. I've got the credentials.
Where is the star rating going? If it's
what's your star
below
rating?
Something, I don't know.
I'd give it a 3.5.
All right,
okay.
That's good.
Okay,
right,
that's fine.
good.
That's fine.
because again, I still
Did you like the movie?
Yes, I did. I did like the movie. It's just I and not to say that I don't mind leaving a movie, with a horrible ending in terms of not the quality of it, but like the depressing ending or whatever the case
Right.
is. I don't have a problem with that, but you still have to have at least a little bit of a fulfillment of understanding how we got to that point too, where I'm just like, okay, so we're here. For me, it just
They
kind
get to
of
finish their shitty schlocky movie because they have a great scream. Like that's the fulfilling ending,
meh.
right?
I mean-
That's how
Really
the movie
fulfilling?
starts.
I mean,
They're
I
looking
don't-
for a scream, and
I don't
by the
I don't
end they
think
get it.
Yeah, I don't think Casey's wrong with that, but I don't disagree with Brian. Like, like at the end of the day, like movies are, it's entertainment. It's like it's art, entertainment, and
Mhm.
like you kind of want to leave the theater like feeling and feeling good. And I guess how I take it is like I want the movie to be true to what it's trying to say or do, and if the movie is depressing ending, which this one is. Like,
Mhm.
I think that's where my enjoyment and feeling good is like that movie went all the way and gave me not what I wanted, but what I needed. And that's kind of
Yeah.
where I get the enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get what you're saying though. Like it's like Travolta, Travolta like has like 3 scenes in a row where like it's just depressing, worse. And then like, he's just like you can tell like his next step is like suicide or something after that. So
Right.
Vague spoilers for our Matrix Resurrection Patreon episode, but Blowout has the ending that I wish Matrix Resurrections did. And I'll explain that more on the actual episode, but
Okay.
yeah.
okay.
All right. Go to Patreon, I guess, to hear Sam's blowout theory for the Matrix Resurrections. Before we get to the plugs, I'm going to ask one more question to us 3 hosts here, because I know Blake's answer to this. It's blowout. Of the 5 DePalma movies that we covered this month, Snake Eyes, Carrie, Phantom of the Paradise, The Fury, and Blowout, what was your guys' favorite of that bunch of those 5?
It's still Carrie, hands down. I'm a Stephen King slut.
Stephen King shows up. Sam's just like, I'm bending over.
I'm getting in that phone booth.
I love Stephen King. I love Stephen King, and I love Carrie, and I can't separate from the memory of literally bringing that over to like every friend I had in high school's house, and then wondering why, like, all of a sudden I wasn't getting invited over to people's houses anymore.
Mhm.
I think for me, I think it definitely is probably Snake Eyes, but that is also the one that I was familiar with and had already seen a couple times, and even at one point even owned the DVD way back in the day. One thing I did like about this is the fact that of this month here, I think Snake Eyes is the only one that I had not seen before. Like everything else has been all brand new watches for me. So it's good to be able to check off some of the boxes of because De Palma is clearly one that I am very much have a blind spot for outside of the ones that everybody knows. Everybody knows about Mission Impossible. Everybody knows about Scarface. They don't necessarily know that they're De Palma movies, but everybody knows about those movies, where at least it's nice to be able to get into movies where people are like, oh, I've never even heard of that one, which is what I liked about the ones that we picked for this series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my
I hope
biggest
if
surprise.
when we do another De Palma month is I hope we get the Untouchables from someone. I love that movie. So I hope we get the Untouchables at some point on this show.
Again, another one I've never seen.
Oh.
If
Oh my God.
slash when. So, I have a huge DePalma I've never seen, so it'll probably have. I've never seen Scarface. My favorite of this is Blowout is my favorite of the bunch. The one that surprised me the most though was going back to Snake Eyes that I caught glimpses of as a kid, and watching it as an adult I was just blown away by that movie. And yeah, I'm excited for us to do more De Palma down the road, because I think we've only just touched the tip of the iceberg with De Palma movies. So I definitely think this is not the last time we're talking about Mr. De Palma on this podcast.
No.
But speaking of dark, depressing endings, we're going to continue dark, depressing endings next month, as we're going to be doing True Crime Month.
Oh my
I
god!
didn't even think about
Yeah.
that.
So
I didn't even think about that.
Way to end. Way to segue the movies into the next sequel.
yeah,
Series.
way to go for all of us here to brighten the mood in the new year to talk about some actual murderers.
Hey, I said we should do true crime. I didn't say we had to do it right out of the gate for the new year.
We're knocking it out right away. We're doing true crime movies. I don't have the list in front of me. You'll just have to be on the lookout for
I'm
it.
excited for one of them for sure.
Which
should
one's
be-
that?
Bully.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
I've been fighting for that one for months.
It's incredible. Incredible movie.
The reason this series is happening, Bully. I think these are all first time watches for me, if I remember our list of 4 correctly. But yeah, that's going to be next month, True Crime Month. We're kicking off the new year, brand new series with that. So yeah, let's get into the plugs though. If you want to subscribe to this and catch up on any DePalma movies, or be on the lookout for True Crime Month next month. You can subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, Amazon Music, and on YouTube. Brian, where can they find us on the social medias?
They can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterbox HQ. All at Backlot605. I'm also on Facebook. We have the South Dakota Film Community Group, film lovers, filmmakers, film enthusiasts, people like me with hiccups that can't get past them. Join the conversation because we love talking about movies. Sam, where else can they find us?
And if you like this and you want more, you can always join us at Patreon for $5 a month. You get 4 bonus episodes. There will be new releases and or anniversary / cult movies. So like this month we did 2 Christmas movies. We did Spider-Man No Way Home, and we're getting ready to knock a Matrix Resurrections out of the park. We've got some cool cult classics that we're going to be doing next month, and we haven't announced all of it yet, and a few new releases. So yeah, be on the lookout for those. Should be a good month for that. So yeah, check us out, patreon.com/backlot605.
All right, guys, I have the list. Should we just do the big reveal here quick as we're finishing up?
Sure.
Do it.
All right, so next month we are doing true crime movies. We're kicking off next week. In Cold Blood is the first one, then Sons
Holy
of Sam, then Bully, and then Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile. So some based on true crime movies coming at you next month. And then we also do have, as Sam said, Patreon coming up, and what a lineup we are going to have for that. We're going to be having some new release movies, including 5 Scream 5 coming up. We're also going to be doing Hotel Transylvania 4,
Sure.
whatever the sequel title to the movie is. I don't remember.
Transformania.
Transformania, okay, the one without Adam Sandler. And then we also have the cult / anniversary screenings, as Sam was talking about, including the 20th anniversary of the cult classic comedy Kung Pao Enter the Fist.
What?
Coming
That's
on
a Brian pick, right?
No.
I've never seen this.
That is straight
idea
up
what
a
I'm getting
Casey
into.
pick.
It's supposed to be wild.
Kung Pao Enter the Fist rules. But a movie that is a Brian pick. I think all 3 of us got our own picks on this. The 30th anniversary of Free Jack.
Which I also haven't seen.
Neither have I.
Hotel
I have not
Transylvania
seen-
was my pick.
Either. So this should be a couple of wild and crazy episodes coming at you next month on Patreon.
Get ready
So
for Mick Jagger.
you're gonna want to subscribe because we got the moves like Jagger next month. Anyway, that was horrible. Blake, do you have anything you want to plug?
I mean, I have SlashLot with Casey and Sam. We just did Black Christmas, all 3 of them, and then I think our next episode's going to be our top 10 of the 2021. And then I'm on the Criterion break on Andy Heller's channel. We are in the midst of a hiatus right now, but we'll be back. I think we have our entire year planned, so that comes back sometime. We haven't decided yet. So
That's how you plan out your year. We'll
Well,
come back when we come back.
we have our like topics planned out. Like we have all of our movies and everything set. We're just kind of like enjoying the holidays and whatever. So no
yeah.
like start date ready to go yet. So
Sweet. So go check out Fat Dude Digs Flicks. That's where you can find
Yep.
all the goodies Mr. Andy Heller, Derek Varink, and Blake Ginithan are putting out over there. Yeah, so I think that's going to wrap up today's episode on Blowout. Thank you all for listening. Go check out the movie. I suppose it'll probably be off Tubi by the time this episode comes out, but yeah, go find the Blu-ray, the DVD, the Japanese VHS, or rent it on.
It's worth renting, for $4 or $5 for sure.
If anybody has a library card, they can get it for. I got it off of Hoopla.
Oh shit!
For free.
Oh yep.
Nice. Was the quality pretty good on that stuff?
This one. It was kind of okay. This one feels like it was like a early SD probably conversion.
It was the rip from the VHS behind Sam.
Yeah,
Nice.
Possibly. But I mean,
Nice.
on Hoopla, I've also
The
done
exact
Nightbreed, and
VHS
Nightbreed
they
looks
used.
great.
Okay.
All right. So for Blake Ginithan and Sam Lenz, Brian Mensing, I'm Casey Calden, and we will check you all out next time on the Backlet of South Dakota as we talk true crime. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Happy New Year, everybody. See you later.
Bye.